Hello out there, this is Ed, the CNC Dude, talking about setup information. When I worked in the industry, I was a setup man on the floor for a long time, and I have to set up and get jobs running for production. So that meant more than one part. I want to be able to load many parts without having to probe each one and stuff like that. And and we like to get production like two operations at once. So we get two vices, we do op one and op two together, so we have complete parts if it's a two operation job coming off the machine. And I also got into programming. I had to learn to build in some information for the setup people, so it's not like just verbal stuff like that, or somebody assumes something. In this case, this is part of the new Immerse to Learn series. This is a bottom cover, going to be aluminum. And where's my XYZ coordinates? So there's a couple of different ways to communicate that. One is through the setup sheet, and one is you can actually build it into your G code. So in Fusion here, and I used to do this in Mastercam also, I build comments in the top. So I could have a tool list and comments. I would like stock size and where's the XYZ work coordinate going to come off of. In this case, if I look at this, now it's centered, and I believe it's, let me double click on this, it's stock. So it's stock, not model coordination. So how I do that is I go into Manual NC, I can build it right in, and I'm going to write it says right there, comment. You can add in a lot of things here like force tool change, open door if you got that kind of capability, but I'm going to use a comment. Comments in G code language or anything in parentheses that is not readable by the machine. So I'm going to put a comment, which is G54, our first coordinate. I'm going to type in XYZ equals stock. I'm going to abbreviate it, stock top center. So that verbal command should be enough to figure that out. Where I'm going to probe and where am I going to put my XYZ. I think center is actually probably one of the best ways because if the material size changes a little bit, it's still going to be in the center. If you do the corner, which I like to do also, if the material size happens to be a little short, you may miss the right hand side. I'm going to hit OK, and actually put the comment right at the bottom. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to move it up to the top right there. So now I'm going to post my code now, and I always like to review the code when I do it. I'm going to go to my G1 area, post the code. I'm actually using a machine configuration file, which is different than a machine demonstration file. But it's actually steering it to this post right here, and I have a program number. And usually I try to have comments in here, so I'm trying to build it in over here. And it says right here, P1 op1 with my initials. Hit OK. So let me go back to the G1 area. And now it's in there. OK. I got my location of my G code file. I have open NC file and editor, but I do not have create NC program because create NC program is going to start stacking programs up on the right. Sometimes I do that in the beginning, and it means you don't need to go back to the G1 tab. You've got to go to the NC program tab, the post. But the NC program has got a lot better setup sheet data. Anyway, back to this. I get a program number, file name. I leave them alone. I put a comment line, which will be on the top, so I know what it is, even though it's program numbers. But we might have many students doing programs, and they're all using the same number, and I have no idea whose it is and what it does. So I want to do Open NC File Editor. I'm going to hit Post, and it's going to update the one that was already in my folder. Hit Yes, and right here it's going to pop up my code. And right up here I got a list of tools. I could pretty much almost set up the machine with using this list. And right here I have a comment line right here that says G54 XYZ stock top center right in the top. I can also maybe put in the stock size. Let me go look up the stock size. The stock is 4.5 by 3 by 1. Okay. So if I duplicate that comment, duplicate, it'll be in the right position. I just got to put a new comment in. I'm going to click on that little spot. I'm going to erase that. I'm going to put stock equals 6061 AL for aluminum, and it's 4.50 by 3.0 by 1.0. And there we go. We got our comments, and if I post the code again, let me try it again one more time. Update, and right here on the top I have G54XYZ equals stock top center, and the stock size is 4.5 by 3.1. So I should be able to get going without any assistance from the programmer, because I'm used to being, the programmer's in another room and he's not going to be running or setting this up. So we got to be able to learn to pass on information as an industry. And in order to do that, we can't like teach, in my opinion, teaching a student to be a one-man band and doing all operations, but forgetting some vital information of how to hand off information. So I would have a work stop at the machine, so I load the parts, and I'm going to set it up to be production. So if you need to make 100 of these things, it's set up ready to go. So we can probe that XYZ, put in the middle, get that work coordinate going, and then load our parts against the work stop. And there we go. So we got enough information here to do the job. I find that's a critical problem in when people are setting this up, like where is the XYZ coordinate? Where is the work coordinate? How do you know? There's some people, I had some students who would try doing it different ways. So you should put a comment in there. There's another way you can do it also, to build it into your setup sheet. So right now, let me look this up. I may have done this in this one. If you go to Edit Notes, right there, I actually put it in the notes right there. Stock Top Center. All right, it's already there. And if you print your setup sheet, I'm going to go to NC Program now, because this said there are setup sheets built in up here, but I like the ones in here better. And it says out of date. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I'm going to click on this. There's my programs in operation, but what I really want is to right click on this and do setup sheet right here. All right, it's going to save it in my folder, and it's also going to give me a preview of what it looks like right there. It's got my view of my part, and I don't like the detailed one. I use the compact with just tool images only, and it's got enough information that I could set the job up. Face mill, half-inch end mill, 3/8 end mill, 90-degree chamfer mill, a drill, and a tap. It even says right here, form tap. And here's actually a picture of where the coordinate is right there. I can't tell if it's stock or model top, so that's why I write it down. Up in this section here is the size right there, and a note which tells me what that means. And we have a list of operations, which I could pretty much, I don't really need that information as a setup person. I even have I spell out which holders we're using. We're using all ER32 holders. Here's an ER16 and another ER16 for the chamfer mill and 2 drills. So that's smaller, and these have bigger ER, and we got the big face mill right here. So you should be able to load these up, touch them all off, get all the coordinates set, and also verify your stock is correct, or you got to go cut a piece yourself. And you should be able to get going. I think you really kind of need to teach this also. So here is the old second operation here. On this side, where's our Z going to be? I'm going to use this, and make sure you got sync with active view so they'll flip automatically. And I think I already put the comment here. Like, where do I want to put my comment? I believe this part, I could set it on parallels here. And then, if I put a work stop against this and clamp it against the jaw here and here, it's probably better if I had a vise to show you. But that's my plan. I could take a 1, 2, 3 block, put it in the machine, and get this X and Y and the top of the 1, 2, 3 block is my Z, and I want to shift it to the top of the model. So I got to do a little bit of math to figure that out. So in this one, it's G55, XYZ is upper right model top. So we can't be stock related in the second operation. We have to be relative to the model somehow. So because I already have some nice flat surfaces, I could probe this in the machine and this and the top of the stock, but the top of the stock's not really good enough. You could probably sort of calculate it from there, but I like using the old trusty 1, 2, 3 block. I can probe the same surfaces, probe the top, and I know the 1, 2, 3 block's exactly 1 inch above the bottom, so I prefer to use the top as my Z0. I know some people teach using bottom, but I just prefer the top. In this case, I would even go in here and, let's do a inspect measure from here to there. And that's 0.75 inches. So if I want to add to the comment right here, model top equals 0.750 from bottom, right there. Hit OK. I can also put it in my setup sheet notes. I have it right there. I already did that. And if I do something called an associated view, right here, if I go right click on this one and hit associate name view, and I hit new name view, it will automatically get this coordination, and that'll be in my setup sheet. I like having that little picture. I'm going to click setup sheet, and this is program number 10044. That's correct. Hit save. And review the setup sheet. I'm going to do the compact version. I got a picture of the part. I got my tools, 1, 2, 3, 4, which I can use from the previous operation. And there I got a picture of the coordinate on the corner. I don't really know what that is. So if I describe it over here, now I know exactly what they mean as a setup guide. So we're not really, the stock up here is not really relative anymore because we're trying to finish machine what's there. We're doing, and then we have all operations. So we do we have an setup time? Let's see. Estimated time, this is programmed for 5 minutes 56. And this is all programmed at 6,000 RPM, which is what the tool library was setting as maxes for our mini mill machine. All right. Okay, I think it's very important to get that setup information out. Now, if you were something like Project MFG, I would create these setup sheets anyway. I would build it into the G code, and I'd create the setup sheets right here, setup sheet. And when I got it open, hit save. I would save it on a USB file, so you don't have to print it out. You can go up here, print, and then go to your printer and do save as to PDF, print, and load that in a USB and then give it to the setup guy, and he can have a computer at his station, plug that in, and you can just read the setup sheet. You could have like a team setup where he would get that information right here. The setup sheet data is right here, 100FSD. So if you're truly using a team environment, you really wouldn't have to print this out. It's all right here. So if I double click on this, up pops the Autodesk cloud area, and right here is the setup sheet information right here, right there. So it'd have all your information as a programmer on what each operation is doing. So I named them by 1004 was the first op, and 10044 would be the second op. So however you want to name it, but I think when you got your setup hat on, you're running these jobs, you're not the programmer, you can read this and understand what it means right there. So that's all I want to communicate as far as it's always a troublesome thing in the teaching of this, because whether they're following directions or not. I like to review these programs in the cloud. I can actually have these students in my cloud and I can review their programs before we hit the machine. And I've also done that in Mastercam with OneDrive, using OneDrive as a storage area, a common storage area, and I can also review the programs that way. But I really like this Fusion Cloud for reviewing students' work. And I can give them comments on, like, I think this is all good, but I'm not sure about which coordinate using. I don't think you can't depend on your memory, or it could depend on handing that information off to anybody. Okay, that's about all I want to talk about here as a CNC dude is signing off.